grew up in Manhattan Beach, went to Stanford, and then got my PhD at USC. And my mother was an educational psychologist, and so that tradition carried on with me. And so we have a testing center for learning disabilities, attention deficit, and we also do career testing. We have specialized in gifted over the years. And gifted ADHD is a whole beautiful kind of concept in and of itself, because there's nothing wrong necessarily with that prefrontal cortex, but they may not have the executive functioning. The way I have grown to see ADHD is that there's 7 different kinds. I like Dr. Amen's formulation, but I never send anyone to him. He's been to my house for dinner, but a wonderful guy. But psychiatrists and the medical professionals really don't agree with the way he formulates it. I have 2 children, a 32-year-old, he's genetically mine, and then I couldn't get pregnant again. And so we adopted a little girl. I was 41, and she was ADHD as the day is long. I mean, so listen, my education has nothing to do with my expertise. It is my experience with, our children are our teachers, right? Mm-hmm. So, she was perfect till 3. And then at 3, she was absolutely unparentable. And I'm a child psychologist. It was humiliating. But anyway, at 5, they wanted to retain her at Grandview, Manhattan Beach in kindergarten. And at the end of the year, they said, we're going to retain her. I'm like, are you kidding me? She has a 126 IQ. And they said, of course. They treated me like every other parent, right? And how dare they? Because they didn't give me any feedback the entire kindergarten year. And so I said, you can't retain without, let's do some intervention. So I took her down to Dr. Corman in Los Alamitos. He uses the TOVA test. That's how I got into using the neural processing tests, which are fantastic because we can really pinpoint what kind of attentional issue there is. There are kids who have perfect attention and can't hold an impulse back. There are kids who can hold impulses back, have good attention, maybe not perfect, but they can't do anything rapidly. So it's a processing speed issue, and that's where Jamie's going to come in. And then there's people who are really bright, can pay attention, but they're completely inconsistent and they drive people crazy. Anyway, my daughter was all 4 quadrants, bottom of the barrel, below the first percentile. So she was put on Adderall. Well, she was born on cocaine. The lawyer we adopted from lied to us and said the birth mother was cocaine positive, but the baby was not. And I was so excited about getting a baby, I didn't look at the medical papers. Until she was 6 in 1st grade. Oh, we put her on medication and they passed her, but she refused to put her name on the paper. And this drove the kindergarten teacher crazy. You can't go into 1st grade if you won't put your name on the paper, right? But she knew exactly what she was doing. So she's that kind, And and I elaborated a lot of the strategies I work with, and I have them on one of these handouts. I'll get to that at the end. Are ones that I elaborated because of personal desperation, but also they really work in my practice. And while I'm no longer doing weekly therapy, I'm doing consults, so people come in, I teach them the skills, you use them, and they usually work, and then we do an update 3 months later or something. And I'm on all insurances. So, when she was 9, she burnt our house down. So in retrospect, she was ADD, adrenaline-driven disorder. And so we were in the residence inn, completely traumatized, had nothing but like a burnt dog, and just singed, really. And Dr. Amen, and we were friends, he said, I'll do those $6,000 brain scans for free. And I'm like, oh, great, but you got to keep her off meds for 3 days. Are you kidding me? I'm already traumatized. So, but we did. And she couldn't do anything. It was really interesting, a kind of experiment, because she couldn't do her math, she couldn't do anything. And she is very bright, and I'm happy to say she's alive today, and I'm a grandmother. So, they came back gobbledygook, really. Yeah, they're that thick. What I like about him is he does pay attention to nutrition. I like about Dr. Amen that he has popularized the concept of ADHD so that it's not some shadowy thing over there in the corner. And he also said she had ring of fire ADHD, which is basically addiction, right? Or, of course, one psychiatrist was sure she was a budding borderline personality, he told me, and another psychiatrist said that she was bipolar. They were all wrong. She just had severe ADHD and an addict's brain, and that was genetic, and maybe preconditioned by the cocaine that was in her brain when I finally read the medical papers. So, and she, in fact, became a heroin addict for 6 years. Didn't matter what a wonderful family we had or great parents. It doesn't matter, right? So, but I'm happy to say that if you're a parent and you do the work, which is digging really deep down in your soul and gut and rooting out all the things you believe about how your child should be, which I didn't have to do with my own son. He never did any parenting at all, except when he was 16 and he brought some guy's bong home. But and the police who came to the door had been my patients. So, and my husband's like, "Why would you call the police?" Well, why wouldn't I? It's illegal. So there was a difference of opinion there. But anyway, he never needed parenting. And then I have this daughter that no parenting works. But I did the Al-Anon program, and which is really let go and let God, which is the most difficult thing to do when you have a child. How do you know what you should let go of and what you need to keep pounding in, right? And so it's a constant process for parenting. It's a very dynamic process. And then I had to get new skills, and that's when I learned meditation. And we have a wonderful meditation mindfulness group at South Bay Hospital here every Tuesday night, and a great group in Los Angeles. But meditation is simply being able to be with the feeling that you're having. So when no organization strategy works and no time management strategy works and you're frustrated, you learn to sit with that feeling and to kind of honor it and not try and run away from it. And by the way, when you do that, the child has a whole different sense of whether they can take advantage of you. I want to tell you, I stand here today and I know in my bones that if I hadn't learned different skills, and they weren't being a psychologist, child psychologist skills, that she would be dead. I don't know how she defeated heroin. Don't know how. Because she was a kind that one try and she was hooked, you know. So, but Rachel Togut, who was a teacher here in Palos Verdes, is teaching mindfulness for children, and she's taken a year off from teaching, and I can give you that citation. I think what we should do is give everything to Jessica, and Jessica can disperse, right? So, and she is wonderful, so I've sent a lot of patients to Rachel. So, my son's first girlfriend at America. Okay, so anyway, let me take a moment and talk about I'm just going to skim over the nutritional approach. One thing we know is if we define ADHD as a dopamine firing issue, sometimes it's norepinephrine, that would be something that Dr. Braslow will address. But the stimulants have been used since 1937, and stimulants are not bad for you. 1 cup of coffee, for example, raises IQ 10 points and detoxifies the liver. 2 cups, not so good. So all the it's not about whether you take stimulants, in my opinion. It's whether you take them every day. So, and again, I'm a psychologist, lowly psychologist, so, and we have a medical doctor here who I refer to, he's wonderful. But new research came out last month that proves that in the child's developing brain, if you give a stimulant every day, which I did to my daughter, including weekends, because she was hell on wheels at the soccer games. And then once she was in middle school, you know, climbing out the window, you know, in the middle of the night, which you can't give stimulants at night, although there is this new Jornay that I've had a number of parents really be excited about. It doesn't work at night, but you take it at night and it works in the morning, and it's great for launching that child in the morning. They just get up and get going. Talk about time management. So, but the new research shows that if a child takes stimulant medication, which probably happened to my daughter, it permanently changes the production of white matter in the brain, which is what gets stimulated. You know, there's gray matter and white matter. And so the gray matter, you could be highly intelligent, average intelligence, or you know, low average, or learning disabled. Well, there are all kinds of learning disabilities. But so that's one variable. But the white matter is your blood flow. So since medication works 90% of the time, and college students have learned that that happens at all grades, go up 38%. If you don't have ADD and you take Adderall, the world famous Adderall, that, I mean, it's just a very effective medication. So I tell parents, don't be afraid of stimulants, but do be afraid of taking them every day, giving them to your child every day. But some children may need it. If you could minimize stimulant medication, that's what I would recommend based on this research. They did the same study in adults. My husband has a little ADD. He's 71, and now he takes My Day Is. It's a crazy name. My Day Is Lovely. My Day Is something else. And it's wonderful. It works 13 hours. And but I wouldn't recommend that for a child, right? Anyway, in adults, it doesn't alter the production of white matter at all in the brain. So this is about the developing brain. And, you know, we were having a conversation, Jane and I came together, Jane was saying, oh, I didn't get enough sleep. And I said, well, what about my memory? I said, well, did you take your hupersine? Hupersine is a wonderful memory cognitive enhancer, and also in us old people, it helps when you have thin skin, you don't bruise, because it opens up the blood vessels. And what does Jamie say? Jamie says, I need to, if somebody has a memory problem, I give them SOI modules. This is sequencing, which can help with time management. Jamie will talk all about this. But this is a tradition that I come from. It was my mother's theory of intelligence, and these are workbooks. So in my view, treatment includes nutrition. So we get everybody on zinc. Zinc makes you think. 90% of Americans don't have enough zinc. If you don't have enough zinc, I talked to 80 pediatricians in February, and not one of them knew that if you don't have enough zinc, you don't metabolize dopamine. So, and it's hard to get. If it's not in a vitamin, it's in seeds, sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, walnuts, almonds. A lot of our kids are allergic to nuts. And kale, you know, the dark green. And the African American population actually has more zinc than the Caucasian because they eat greens. So anyway, the zinc is very important. And then Smarty Pants, which is a nice, and Jane will weigh in on this, supplement. This is the calcium, magnesium, and the zinc, and vitamin D, and it's delicious. They're these little chewies. So I got it on Amazon, but the vitamin and the omegas, which recoat every brain cell, you can get at Costco, right? Of course, Whole Foods. So anyway, I have a couple of, not the greatest production, everything's on my website, but articles on zinc, all right? And this is something I wanted to talk about, and we can hand this out, using medication behaviorally. It's very important. You are the research shows, is Dr. Russell Barkley, that kids know what to do, but they don't do it at the point of performance. So Johnny kicks you on the your child on the playground, and he kicks him right back. So they know they should go tell the teacher or the aide, but they can't stop that impulse at the point of performance. And if you're not there on the playground, you know, you can't jump inside their prefrontal cortex and make it all go, right? So the most important thing when you use medication, because a lot of kids are just slapped on meds, pediatricians are the primary prescribers for medication. And guess what? Now pediatricians, the bulk of their practice is prescribing for ADHD. Did you know that? You have to ask them, what was different about today? Because cueing is the most important thing you can do as a parent and me as the spouse of my husband. When that child gets home, you've got to ask them the questions, because they're not clueless, they're cueless. And so if they're not getting cued, honey, do you think the dog was fed? What was different about today when you took your focus vitamin? And I recommend, with all the other vitamins, taking the stimulant medication if you're giving it, and just calling it a vitamin, right? And when Vyvanse, if Vyvanse had been around when my daughter was 5, I don't know that she would have become an addict. What was different about today? Well, I raised my hand, the teacher said I didn't blurt out. Johnny invited me for a play date. So if you're not getting dramatic positive experience from the medication, why use medication? John Taylor is a wonderful resource, and he's written a lot on ADD. I want to talk about the difference between girls and boys. Okay, so we all have 100 billion brain cells. None are connected. So the omegas work because they recoat that cell, so it's not rocket science. If you crack open your skull and you pull in good motor oil, it's going to help lubricate the processing, and most of these children do very well with processing training. Auditory processing training was very popular in the 90s. We had our whole building in Manhattan Beach was a learning gym. We did visual processing training, sensory integration. The new research shows that dopamine gets stuck back here in the brainstem when you lie flat, when you're sleeping. And so it is essential that you hand them a jump rope. Time management, you hand them a jump rope when they're just all pokey. And that's going to put the dopamine into the prefrontal, whatever dopamine is up there, right? And we all do better with exercise. Anyway, when those hyperactive boys, the wiggles, and do you know the squirm research? The more they squirm, the better they do on tests. So never tell them stop squirming or sit still. You say, go ahead, but you try and give them the appropriate, the TheraBands and the 504 plan, and the bouncy balls and all those things. So you want them to squirm. Anyway, those hyperactive boys get better when they go through puberty, and girls get worse. And if you want to read about it, Kathleen Nadeau is the authority. She has a book. Kathleen Nadeau, Girls and ADHD. And estrogen softens everything. I used to be skinny, but softens everything, okay? We accumulate, when we go through menopause, we accumulate all the estrogen here. That's what creates the midriff so that we can use it. It's the nearest to the ovaries. So it softens the brain too. The average age of diagnosis for girls is 13 and boys is 7. Completely mediated by the hormones. So here, Jess, I'll give you this if you're interested in hormonal links. So if we test a girl and it's mild and she's bright, and I can refer to Jamie and get them on proper nutrition, we can delay medication. But when that 7th grade girl comes home, she started her period and she goes, I hate math, I'm never doing math again. Medication is a good option to get her back focused. Why math? And Jamie will talk about it. Math is sequential. You have to have everything in order. You cannot drop out a detail. I'm trying to get to time management. So, one of the most important things is you have to control the negative thoughts. And we call them ants. This is Dr. Amen's formulation. He's got a new children's book called The Anteater, and asking the amazing superpower questions. A kid comes home, says I'm stupid, and you say, remember, neutral voice is your key. Is that really true? Are you 100% sure it's true? And you deconstruct the negative thought, because most of us catastrophize. I have a PhD in catastrophizing. Anyway, these are the 10 ants, automatic negative thoughts. You see, I always wear the rubber bands doing thought stoppage. Replace it with a positive thought. Okay, this might be hard for me, but I can do it, right? And mom's there to help me, or my tutor is coming soon. So what we know and through brain scans is if you, this is all on the internet, everything's on YouTube, by the way, for free. What we know is the minute your child gets that negative thought, the ADD is going to get worse. It shuts down the blood flow in the prefrontal. So you got, and at that point, if you see it happening and they're shutting down, how many have kids who shut down? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or adrenaline and goes extreme.
Yeah, okay. Well, either one,
yeah.
You should, most of you have big purses, just carry a $7 jump rope from Target and just wordlessly, no words, not, you need a jump rope! You just hand them the jump rope. And, pogo stick, hula hoop, exercise is the best medicine. Dr. John Rady has proven this. He has his book, Spark, is coming out any minute. He's a Harvard psychiatrist. He put ADD on the map in the early 90s. He wrote Driven to Distraction, Answers to Distraction.
Oh, yeah. What's his name?
John Rady. He's a good friend of mine. Lovely guy. Been married many times. Now he's married to, he's got ADD. They all have ADD. Married to a beautiful woman who works for Entertainment Tonight, Alicia, and in Beverly Hills, so he's bi-coastal, and just a wonderful guy. And he has redone his book, Spark. Look for it, Christmas presents. And with all the new research, he's got schools in Kentucky, New York, upstate New York, and they're collecting all the research with ADD kids and exercise, and the role, the kind, and so forth. That's the limit of my knowledge.
The Spark book will say what role and what kind?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, great.
You also go to his website, John Rady. I just want to show you something. This is the TOVA test. I don't want to go into it, but you see the 4 quadrants: consistency, response time, impulsivity, inattention. This is on, the blue is on Evykio, which is a stimulant, relatively new. Remember, they're never new. They're from 1937. It's new technology, and new technology is coming out all the time. Look, the red was the consistency baseline nomads. Look at what the Evykio did in making this kid consistent, and it was only 5 milligrams, tiny amount. Look how fast it made it. Guess what? This child he was a junior at Maricosta. He was a good student, but he was never impulsive. So it made 0 difference in impulse control. Mm-hmm. Isn't this cool? This is science. Okay. I want to get to the, let's see, that's my diet. Do I have much time?
A few more minutes.
Okay.
And then we'll do Q&A.
Okay, good. All right. These are coping strategies, and I did, Jessica, make enough copies.
Wonderful.
And
Thank you.
on the other side, I have 2, this was published a long time ago, but I suggest creating an angry corner, an energy corner, or a frustration corner somewhere where there's linoleum, and you can have marshmallows to throw, crayons, old newspaper to rip up. So there's a lot of suggestions here. You can do an energy dance. I did one with this adorable little black boy yesterday, and the mother's terrified. The mother was in foster care, and she's such a good mom, but they live in a tiny apartment, and when the medicine wears off, the boy goes crazy. It's withdrawal, it's ADHD, and she's terrified of getting called, by child services. So I said, don't worry, I'm in your corner. You just always have them call me. And that's the only good thing about getting old, is people know you. And so one call to Dr. Maxwell, and usually the problem goes away. Of course, we got stopped by the Palos Verdes cops on the way here, and he looked at Jane's legs, and the whole problem went away. Oh, I was going to give you a ticket, but I don't think I'll give you a ticket. Okay, so anyway, energy dance. I did that with this little kid. When you're having time management problems, impulse control problems, you go, okay, come on, let's have, I have a 2-year-old grandson, definitely ADHD. Jane babysat him the other day. She's like, wow, that's a lot of energy. I hate to diagnose it too, but my daughter's son. Anyway, so we do an energy dance. We have dance parties. And so if he's going like this, I'll get behind him and go like this. Or, and you just move all around. Remember, you're sending the dopamine up into the brain. I have 2 little boys in therapy. They're twins. One's bipolar, and the father's bipolar, and the other's ADHD. And the bipolar, we're not using meds, of course not. He's in 3rd grade, and the other boy is taking a little, I think, Evicchio or something. Anyway, they come in, they're so adorable. And I have these big black leather chairs, and they lean over backwards. I don't know, they just decided that that's what they need to do when they're in my office in order to get the blood going. And they stay that way for 3 minutes, and then we start play therapy. So you can always hold a child up, support their little neck. That pushes the blood down into the brain. Again, not rocket science, you're stimulating. So I'll pass these out, but I wanted to get to FTTF. Where is it? Well, I'll find out. Okay, so what I do, since 85% of Americans are visual, I will take the child's hand and we'll have the target behavior. FT, first time you're told. So when you do something the first time you're told, you get a reward. And of course, best rewards are time with mom and dad, no screens. Or TF, think first before you say something or you do something. And I put O for if we're working on organization, Q for quiet. So then the kids love this. And they go to school, it says TF on their hand, nobody knows what it means. And then they come home, again, cueing, you cue them and you say, what did you think first about today that you wanted to? And so you're constantly, in a nice way, bringing forward to their mindfulness, consciousness, what they could be focusing on differently. Yeah. I could go on and on for hours. So.
You're a wealth of information. Does anyone have any questions? Don't be shy. And you have little index cards too. If you think of a question, write it down, and you're too shy, just pass it up to the front.
Yes.
Sorry, I missed the very beginning when you said your name and
Oh, here's my card. Valerie Maxwell.
Thank you.
Here, I'll pass it. We don't need any business. This is not a solicitation, but we are on all insurances, and pediatricians are too busy. Dr. Douglas, who's fabulous, she must have 50,000 patients. Mm-hmm. And so if you have a question, you can always text me. I was texting at 10:30 last night, someone I don't even know that Dr. Fernandez recommended, and the 5-year-old was getting expelled, and he's nonverbal, and some other 5-year-olds pushed him against a wall, a brick wall, and this kid's getting, I don't really know it all, but I'm like, okay, first you need an advocate. Go to WOSEP.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, other questions? Yes.
So you talked about the ring of fire on the brain scans and so on and so forth. Addiction runs on both sides of our family, and ADHD with addiction also runs on both sides. Would you recommend doing the brain scans, or?
No, but I would only use, and Larry, you can differ with me, but I would only use Vyvanse.
Okay.
Listen, I paid for far too many sober living houses. This
I
is
work
how-
in recovery.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'd pay for them. My daughter was 18, 19, 20, 21.
Yeah.
$800. She'd leave after 3 days. And, I would always bring the medication. And the Adderall was the devil. Highly addictive. Crushed up, put it up your nose. I did have one patient. He was an addict, 41, drunk, crushed up Vyvanse and put it up his nose, had a stroke. But Vyvanse, what I was told is it skips the limbic. So
Okay.
Vyvanse is like Prozac in recovery centers.
Okay.
So I would be very careful about medication. I would really rely on what the rest of the panel has to say
Okay.
here.
Excellent. Thank you.
Is it possible that you could outgrow your ADHD?
Yes, absolutely. They say it's a myth, but some do, some don't. We just don't know who's going to do that.
Can I ask you a 10-second question on that? So my niece, she was on Cotempla, which I'm assuming is similar to Adderall.
Yeah,
it's
I don't know,
methylphenidate, but okay.
Larry.
Anyway, after 9-10 months, she's like, I don't need it anymore. I don't need it anymore. Don't give it to me. I
How
don't
old
need it
was she?
anymore. 7. And actually, we said to her, she was at our house over the weekend, we said to her, let me see you write an essay, or let me see you write a couple sentences. And pretty good job compared to pre-treatment with the,
Mhm.
So is it possible they can evolve in their maturity?
Had she had a
and-
head injury?
No.
You sure? Because I've seen head injury do that.
Well, she did
They
bang
take
her head when
stimulants-
she was a baby. I mean, that kind of thing, when she was
They
1
take
years old.
stimulants for 2 weeks and they're fine again. I don't know what's going on. I think it's reopening up blood flow in the, I don't know. Dr. Bradslow can
I
address
think
that.
kids learn skills, and maybe that's what you're saying.
Yes, if she's aware, more aware, attentive, mindful, and she learns
Yeah.
some skills and she's bright. But who knows these things? Are they studying them? No. And was she taking omegas, zinc, getting the right kind of exercise in the
Yes.
morning,
I'll
protein
make
in the
all
morning?
of that, yes. Not zinc, but everything else.
Okay,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
You gave us, I saw a couple moms shaking as well about the girls, that they get worse in the puberty. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because my girl, she's absolutely hyperactive. Your daughter, you described my daughter. She's 10 now. So what should we expect, and how can we deal that? Because we know that the hormones change everything. How can we deal with the puberty in girls with ADHD? How can
I
we?
think you follow what the guidelines I've tried to set forth. First of all, she hasn't started her period, right?
No, she didn't.
Well, you're gonna sometimes the hyperactivity gets way less when they start their period, and they can even get hypo, but they get ditzy. I mean, I don't have ADHD, but I got really ditzy when I was in 7th grade. So I think it's just that flood of hormones.
And I
So-
think too, another thing
Yeah.
is that, talk about comorbidities, I mean, what goes with ADHD. And a lot of times when you have kids in middle school, they're contained, they're nice little kids, and then suddenly all the stuff that comes with middle school, the boys, the traumas, the girls, suddenly they're being exposed to drugs. So I think that the danger is more kind of the trouble they start getting into middle school.
But give them that good foundation of exercise, protein in the morning, zinc, omegas, attention training.
Yeah.
And that's a good program. It's like a foundation of a house. You have a good foundation, and then you learn the skills when those girls are crazy
Right.
in teenage years.
And then you never can really take your foot off the gas pedal. with these kids. You know, you think you have them fixed, they're in grade school, they're getting their top grades, okay, we're here, we've done it.
But there's a
And
great,
you can't. It's just a lifetime of being vigilant and taking care of these kids, making sure their medications are right, they're getting their support.
I was just going to mention there's a great book that I read when my daughter was a teenager. It says, Yes, Your Teen is Crazy. And it's written by a psychologist. I think I shared it with you, and I bought it for all my friends. But it's a really good book because it really allows you to see what's really important, because it feels like there's 10 problems and they're all equally, huge. But there's things that you should focus on and things you shouldn't. And it kind of helps relieve you of that. And yeah, and their brains aren't developed yet, so.
and then there are the kids who go to college and they don't have big symptoms of ADHD. They get to college, there's no structure, and they really fall apart, and then they're taking their roommate's Adderall.
Yeah.
My daughter's very intuitive and likes to know why, and is this because of my ADHD? She likes to know the why. How do you think we should communicate this to our kids? Like,
Scientifically,
okay,
you
like
know, show them the
factually-
pictures of the brain scans. I have them here somewhere. And just say you're in an air pocket. Oh, one of the things I elaborated with my daughter, when she was 8, I was telling Larry this. I come from lily white, both parents PhD, Manhattan Beach, and my daughter's 8 years old, and I walk into the room and I'm saying, "Good morning to you, good morning to you." I get about there and she goes, "Bitch!" She's an 8-year-old girl. And of course, you want to react. How dare you say that to me? Which of course I did react that way. Which then we're off and running. And remember, she's adrenaline driven. It works for her brain, but it doesn't work for your brain. So I elaborated, oh, neutral voice. I go into Pollyanna. Oh, you're sparking your brain. And she would hate that. And but she would stop. And now she's 26. She's still nursing a baby. She's living in our house. And the two worst qualities now, the perseveration. Just going on and on. It could be like, don't hold your pen that way. Why are you holding that pen that way? Mom, why are you holding your pen that way? And I'll say, perseveration. Oh, she goes, but she shuts up, right? Perseveration and argumentativeness. And those are the adrenaline-driven behaviors that you cannot reinforce. And it's very difficult not to reinforce them because they gall you. It's a visceral reaction. So your skills are mindfulness, deep breath, a lot of deep breathing. They have proven that deep breathing techniques work faster and better than Valium. So, yeah.
So my son refuses to do deep breathing in the moment. Do you have any?
How big is he? Turn him
He's
upside
8.
down. Turn him upside down.
Okay. What about swinging?
Swinging is great.
Yeah.
And I teach a meditation breath that you swing on your breath. And boys love it. Yes?
Was your breathing that you were just mentioning as far as like the opposition and sort of like that impatience, I get that a lot with 2 boys. And is that breathing for yourself or for them?
For both. We breathe together.
Because I know I need to, but I try to tell, now have a 12-year-old who just turned 12, and we've known he's had ADHD for a long time, but now things are just exploding in a whole other way. And even just trying to tell him to breathe, he won't even do that. Like, don't tell me what to do. I'm in control of my body. I mean, it's just
Well, that's when
That's the
constant.
kids you're talking about comorbidity, which is
Yeah.
really an awful word. That like half of these kids end up with the opposition defiant disorder.
Yeah.
All the opposition defiant kids have ADHD. Part of the opposition defiant disorder is they get so good at provoking, pushing that button. They're experts.
Yes. And when
so-
I breathe, he won't let up. I mean, it can be a half hour of him still driving at me.
I would
and
hand him a
driving
jump
at me.
rope. But that's where you need a third party,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
Get a
And then
high
that's
school
He
senior
is on
or
medication,
something.
but I know that we need more of like a verbal support therapy.
Well, just to support what Valerie was saying is you have to bring yourself down. You have to kind of down regulate your own voice. You can't go above it. You have to go down under.
Sue Johnson
Slower and
is a wonderful researcher, and she says you go slow and low.
But is that also just something you do in the moment, or is this something that child can learn from and grow with that, or is it just constant? It's just like that surface. It's just I'm always going to go low, and I'm going to do, but he'll never not be
Okay, Jackie,
oppositional.
let me give
Did I
Is there
say
any
that?
hope?
Yeah, boys get better.
He's going to go high. And then they get, with these kids, that's what they know, that's what they're good at.
What?
They know how to get that negative attention. And for them, it's like jump. They get a rush
Oh
off
yeah.
of it.
These children teach us to be Zen masters.
Yeah.
All right, so you don't grasp onto what's happening in the moment. This is a long-term project, and when you're doing that, go into your reading place and did you calm down? What you're doing, the bigger picture is you're developing mindfulness.
Right.
And think of all the kids who don't have to develop mindfulness, and then they end up mindless adults, watching sports and drinking beer. So by doing this, you're developing skills and abilities that will pay off later on. And it's all about being patient and kind of having the bigger picture. But unfortunately, you're all younger than I am, and you're out of the bigger picture until you're a grandmother.
So, should I have a jump rope in my back pocket for after she calms down?
Yes, I
Like
think so.
maybe
But choice. Always give kids choice.
Yeah.
Would you rather have the hula hoop, the jump rope, or the pogo stick? I don't want any of them.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know you're not going to want, and then go into paradoxical. That's what I would teach parents to do.
So
Also
there's
remember
one
to
good
keep it
idea.
really simple, because when kids are escalated, they can't think. So you just keep it really simple.
Yes,
Stay
good
calm, say the same thing.
They're in
And
their
then
amygdala.
afterwards, you talk about it, other choices you could have made.
Thank you, Dr. Maxwell.
I appreciate